They baptized me without telling my mom.
This is a God dream. This is a God dream. This is everything.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video in my series where I will be transforming my life. I am becoming the best version of myself, and I hope that you are too. Just as a reminder, I will be reading excerpts from my journal. So here we go. I grew up in a pretty confusing environment when it came to religion, so I was pretty disinterested from the beginning. My maternal grandmother is a Jehovah's Witness, and my paternal grandmother was a Christian. So I was always consuming pretty different perspectives of what was right and what was wrong. I was an inquisitive child, so I did tend to ask questions, but I was never truly satisfied with the answers provided. And so since my mother didn't force a religion on me, that part of me had been left up to me to figure out eventually. So when I was younger, my grandmother took me to the Kingdom Hall on my mom's side, and then my grandmother on my dad's side took me to the Baptist church. So I didn't really take any of it seriously because they were telling me such conflicting things all the time. Ironically, the biggest religious influence I had was in a pretty unassuming place, my daycare. From a very young age up until around 12 or 13, I went to a Christian based daycare, and it was a pretty interesting experience. My mom worked a second shift, which meant that sometimes me and my sister would be at daycare in the evening, which also meant we would have to go to church. To be transparent, I felt very indoctrinated during that whole experience, and I believe I was even baptized at one point without my mom's knowledge. Yeah, they baptized me without telling my mom, and they baptized my little sister without telling our mom. Like, we were literally full blood Christians at daycare. We participated in a lot of their religious practices. I was even at a random wedding one time, and the bride looked mad young, to be quite frank. It was some weird shit going on. I don't know, but like that was my intro to Christianity, okay, through daycare. Anywho, I know enough about Christianity to know that it's not for me, nor is any religion for now. That's where I started. I started in a very confusing environment, moving along.
I'm satisfied with life.
As I got older, things started to change because I started to form a personality. I started to form a curiosity about spirituality and religion. So here we go. I just wanted to experience this closeness and connection with this divine energy that everyone talked about. So after I left school, I began my spiritual journey. I was consuming so much information that it felt like at one point I was becoming unrecognizable, which I thought was good, but I became very unbalanced because that was all I focused on. I was very optimistic and constantly focused on only being positive. So that's where I fucked up. I used to not process or enjoy the negative aspects of life so much that I would completely ignore them. This led me to abandon my practices altogether because that side of myself that needed to respond and deal with those negative experiences felt trapped and invalidated. I also felt very overwhelmed and guilty about not nurturing my spirit or maintaining my spiritual connection with Source, aka God. There was a period in my life where I was super spiritual. Like, I literally had an altar for my ancestors. I was burning sage. I was using crystals. I was doing full moon rituals. I was just doing any and everything from any and every religion that resonated with me the most because, like I said, I love studying theology. If you haven't watched my last video, you'll get a bit of a more background check in that video. But I love studying religion, philosophy, things that have to do with humanity and our consciousness and psychology. Like, I'm a brain girl. I love it. But it was so much to the point where my internal thoughts, wants, needs, and desires were clashing with what I could actually prove to be true. And so it frustrated me. And so I gave up, especially when I moved back home with my family. My spiritual practices, I did away with them. I could not focus on even waking up. It was so stressful. It was so frustrating. And I just fell into depression. I turned away from my spiritual practices for quite some time, up until a couple months ago. What I did learn though during that period, for me, spirituality isn't strictly being positive and aware of yourself. It's about identifying your spirit as the being that lives inside the body and not the other way around. It's about what aligns you with source energy, aka God. It's about being in tune with your intuition, aka your inner voice. It's about feeling fulfilled with your identity, purpose, and circumstances. And it's also about seeing spirituality as a part of your lifestyle and not just a practice. I feel like when you see spirituality as something so natural as breathing, as something as natural as waking up in the morning, as something as natural as walking, then you see it as something that is not a chore to do, but it is something that is easy to do. Praying is easy to do. Meditating is easy to do. Just doing things that nourish your spirit in general is easy to do.
I gotta find peace of mind.
So now we're shifting into where I am now spiritually. Like, what is going on with me? What do I believe in? What do I not believe in? Let's get into it. So now I'm in a space where I'm trying to find a balanced spiritual practice and align my actions with my new goals. I want to nurture my connection with source energy, aka God. I want to start praying from a position of power and focused intention on the outcome. Instead of praying from a position of hopelessness, I want to create a space for my spiritual practices internally and not just externally. I want to use my spiritual connection to further myself in my physical life as well, not just my internal life. I want to express more gratitude by being my best self. I also wanted to kind of let you guys know I was influenced by this brilliant woman. Her name is Christina Lopes. She's a great resource for those who consider themselves spiritual but not quite religious. I want you guys to check out her video about spiritual prayer versus religious prayer. It really influenced me and clarified a lot for me. It changed everything that I know about communicating with God, communicating with your spirit guides, communicating with your spirit team. I think that everyone is who they're supposed to be, and no religion is a bad religion. It's just different. And if you feel like that religion resonates with you, then go for it, go practice it. But I think that pressuring and forcing and being aggressive and judgmental about other people's spiritual beliefs is probably the wrong way to go. What I'm going to do in order to adopt this newfound spiritual transformation, I will be doing the following. I will be praying the spiritual way, nurturing and growing a stronger connection and relationship with God. I will be meditating in order to receive clarity, guidance, and feedback from God. I will be doing mirror work to validate the vessel and the mind in the physical realm and create space for a healthy spirit. And last but not least, journaling and creating things. I feel like when I'm writing, whether it be journaling to vent or journaling or creating a story, when I'm painting, when I'm making music, when I'm just creating anything, that is my way of expressing myself and using my natural born talents. Just creating and expressing yourself in a way that puts your mind and your thoughts right in front of you. It helps you understand what you're going through, why you're going through it, and you get to see your life from an observant perspective. When you take yourself out of the emotions, you take yourself out of the circumstances, and you just observe what it is that is going on in your mind and inside your soul and your body and your spirit, you can see a solution more objectively.
I tried to dance it away.
This is going to be a pretty exciting reintroduction into spiritual maintenance. I feel like it's going to have a massive ripple effect into the rest of my life, and I'm looking forward to experiencing that type of spiritual satisfaction and elevation. If you're thinking about trying out these practices or transforming your own spiritual well-being, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Love you, love you, love you. Bye.
So can I get away with no sleep?